Starting, of course, with the sad news and the reaction online and everywhere to the passing of Robin Williams.
That's right. A huge array of reactions to that across news websites and social media, Mark. I'll start with this because I think it's quite touching because there's a more personal element to it. Zelda, his daughter, bearing in mind, Mark, that his Instagram page, which journalists were going through as well, featured photos of him and his family. So this is something that, although it is obviously a personal tragedy, it's also a very public one because everything is on display. So she, I suppose, perhaps for that reason, decided to share publicly as well this quote by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry of The Little Prince fame, French writer, and it says, you alone will have the stars as no one else has them. In one of the stars I shall be living, in one of them I shall be laughing, and so it will be as if all the stars were laughing when you look at the sky at night. So obviously a personal touch there from a grieving daughter who says at the end of that, I love you and I miss you and I'll try to keep looking up. Now, others focusing more on the humour of the man. This was a tweet of his going back a few months, Mark, which has been dug up and shared massively today, where he makes fun of Kim Kardashian by saying, I think I wore it better. And he's digging out, of course, a photo from the archives of Mrs. Doubtfire, one of his most famous films, where he's dressed rather similarly. The New Yorker, for their part, had a dedicated cartoon today for Robin Williams. And again, Mrs. Doubtfire is the subject of this particular cartoon. I'll miss the man most for the time. Dude looked like a lady. One of his best, I think, performances. A lot of people would say he was extremely funny in that role. And even the London Underground, Mark, has quotes from the man himself up on public boards today. I used to think that the worst thing in life was to end up alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people who make you feel alone. So all sorts of words of wisdom. You're only given one little spark of madness, you mustn't lose it. That's another quote from him. So a lot of people clearly having been inspired by the man and his many characters over the years. And indeed, a lot of websites pointing to the fact that different generations will remember him for different roles. He was Aladdin for perhaps a younger generation. That was the voice of the genie in Aladdin, rather, in 1992. Mrs. Doubtfire, going back then, of course, to Mork back in the 70s.
I remember Mork and Mindy. So
there you go. And indeed, that was
very funny role.
One of his most famous roles. So look, lots and lots of tributes then. I'll just quickly quote the New York Times speaking about his talent. It was clear that Mr. Williams was one of the most explosively, exhaustingly, prodigiously verbal comedians who ever lived, writes A.O. Scott. The only thing faster than his mouth was his mind, which was capable of breathtaking leaps of free associative absurdity. Some people then saying that perhaps, lots of speculation about depression, manic depression, and indeed how the mania aspect of that, if it was a malady he suffered from, really does tend to feed comedic genius.
Our sympathies, our thoughts with Robin Williams' family and friends. Now then, James, François Hollande is 60 today. How's his birthday gone, I wonder?
All right, well, it seems to be below the radar. He's gone off holidaying somewhere, but it's not being revealed to the public. And news websites are offering him 10 ideas for gifts, or offering the public 10 ideas for gifts, including an umbrella, because he famously is rained upon at public occasions, including his inauguration 2 years ago. Others saying perhaps he could benefit from a cardboard tie, because in a lot of public occasions his tie does seem to be a little bit askew, and there's even a website dedicated to that, and that I think really is just poking holes and picking at a man, really. And others saying, what about a motorcycle helmet? I have no idea what that's in reference to, Mark. No idea at all. What else do we have? Other people, party poopers, putting a birthday cake down on top of his head. That's one cartoonist. And interestingly, one of the more positive tweets came from the president of Russia. In a phone conversation, Vladimir Putin congratulated President of France, François Hollande, on his 60th birthday. Although you go to other websites and you see that clearly that conversation also included less fun moments. Grave concerns over unilateral Russian mission in Ukraine, says Hollande.
James will end with a happy birthday, a bon anniversaire to François Hollande. James, thank you very much indeed. Time for us to take the shortest of breaks, but we will be back. You're watching France 24.